Hi everyone, welcome back to another Hyrule Warriors Age of Calamity video with me, Dom from the Game Looters. Today guys, we're going to be covering the beginner tips that you need to know for Hyrule Warriors Age of Calamity. Specifically, we're going to be going over 10 of the most crucial tips that if you didn't know, it's going to drastically help your playthrough of Hyrule Warriors Age of Calamity. A lot of you may just be starting off either with the demo or you may have just gotten the game, but regardless, these tips are going to definitely help you out on your adventure to save Hyrule in the past before Breath of the Wild. I guess that might be a little spoiler. Yes, this is a prequel to Breath of the Wild, and there's some crazy stuff that happens in this game. This game is awesome. But without further ado, let's get right into the 10 tips that you need to know for Hyrule Warriors Age of Calamity. And of course, as always guys, make sure you subscribe to the channel. Do it right now, it takes 2 seconds and it's free. And make sure you like the video, it definitely helps us out. Or dislike it if you just hated it, that's fine too. So let's go ahead and start off with tip number 1. So tip number 1 is just how to run or how to sprint. So the thing that you're going to want to do is basically not do any other action, but just literally push the analog stick in the direction that you want to sprint towards. Once you do this, you're going to hold it down in the direction you want to sprint for just a couple of seconds, and your character is immediately going to begin sprinting in that direction. This is something that's not always figured out. No, you don't have to click, you don't have to do anything crazy, just simply push and hold in the direction you want to go, and your character will begin sprinting that way. That leads me into tip number 2. Tip number 2 is going to be pushing the B button. Now this is going to go in tandem with tip number 1. When you want to sprint in a certain direction and immediately begin going one way, whether it's forward, to the left, or to the right, just simply push B. By pushing B, this is going to cause your character to sprint in the direction that you have the stick in. So again, in tandem with tip number 1, you're going to be able to push B. Now not hold B, but just simply push B, and they'll immediately go and now turn in the direction that you put your character. If you're running and you want to quickly go an alternate way, this is how you do that very quickly. That leads me into tip number 3, which is holding ZL. Now when you hold ZL, this is going to essentially lock you in place. This is what we call a strafe move, and this is going to really make it easy for movement and especially for dodging. So go ahead and hold ZL down, and you're going to be able to strafe side to side as you begin to try and essentially kind of lock on enemies. And that way it's going to make it a lot easier for you to be able to bop and move, and just make moving a lot easier when you want to do it basically side to side. That leads me into tip number 4. Now tip number 4 is going to be pushing down on the right analog stick. This is going to come in handy. Now the game does tell you to do this at some point, but you may forget because you just move on with the motion of the way the game is going. But by pushing down on the right analog stick, this is going to allow you to lock on to enemies. This is especially useful when taking on mini bosses while clearing out stages and areas. When you do this, especially for those mini bosses and actual bosses, is going to present you with a health bar. Now the health bar is going to be in a larger form than it is normally, and this is going to basically allow you to be able to take your enemies down faster because you're going to be able to view their full health bar at the top of the screen. Alright, we're on to tip number 5, and tip number 5 is talking about special attacks. So special attacks are extremely useful, and when you get in the motion of killing lots of enemies, you may not notice, but if you look at your bar in the top left, yes, right there, you will notice a yellow bar that increases with the more enemy damage that you do. Once this flashes with the A prompt or the A button prompt, that means you now have your special. Make sure that you use this as often as possible because it does charge decently quick. and you can let out your specials. No matter how many enemies you have been mowing down, you can do it a ton faster when you use your specials. Use them fast, use them often, and don't worry about wasting them. Take them enemies down. Number 6 is the Sheikah Slate. The Sheikah Slate is ultra powerful, but much like your special, you can forget to just use it unless you are prompted by the game. Especially in the beginning hours of the game, this is going to be the most prevalent, but it's going to be available to you. So by pressing down the R button, you will enter the Sheikah Slate menu. Make sure to use this and try out your favorite characters to see exactly how they use the Sheikah Slate. You're going to be able to use bombs, cryonis, and all the other abilities, and they are all different depending on the character that you choose. They also really do charge often, and they can do a ton of damage to your enemies. So don't forget to spam these as much as you can. They are on a quick cooldown, and you're going to eventually learn how to combo these with your other moves. Alright, tip number 7, guys. As you just begin to play and begin to go into the motion of the game, you're going to be given elemental rods. These elemental rods are crucial to your playthrough. These rods are awesome. Much like the last 2 tips, don't forget to use them. You find them often enough that even when you run out of a charge with them, just by playing, especially when you come down to boss encounters, they're going to be crucial. This can really change the tide of the battle. So whether you got a fire rod, an ice rod, or a lightning rod, make sure you use these and do mad damage to your enemies. Now this is going to be engaged by using the L button and picking the elemental rod of choice. Don't forget, L is also how you replenish your health. Now the only thing to remember as you're doing this is you are not picking the element that your enemy's not weak against. For example, if you're facing a lightning enemy, don't pick a lightning element because it's not going to do damage. So pick a different element and damage will happen, and it is awesome. For this one, just kind of put your Pokemon hat on and think elementals. Alright, tip number 8, sticking with battling mechanics, make sure that you are dodging often. Now when you're going to be able to pull off a perfect dodge, much like you do in Breath of the Wild, you will perform a Flurry Rush. And not only does it look awesome, it is going to do tons of damage. Now the Flurry Rush is going to happen with all of the characters, and when this does happen, you're going to do big damage. This is especially useful against mid-bosses like the Elemental Wizards and other large enemies you find out in the overworld, so wait for the perfect moment and strike it to them. Tip number 9. Tip number 9 is leveling up. Leveling up is crucial, so make sure you are leveling up all of your characters. Early on in the game, you're going to be presented with side missions for specific characters. Do them. This will drastically level up your character and your party, and it's also going to net you some really cool gear. Secondly, make sure you unlock the military training camp. Now the military training camp is located near the Korok Forest, so as early as possible, make sure you unlock this. When you do unlock this, you're going to be able to trade in rupees to level up your party. So maybe Mipha isn't your favorite character. Well, that's okay. You never know when you might want to play with her later and you might change your mind. And you don't want to be stupidly low level. So spend some time and spend some rupees here leveling up all of your characters and you'll thank me. Alright, tip number 10 is final tip time. This is the last thing that's going to put the extra little salt on top of your meal, and when it comes to meals, I'm talking about cooking. So grab your ladle, it's time to cook again. Yes, much like Breath of the Wild, cooking is super important. So around your map, you're going to find different areas that have pots, and the pots will be glowing. Do them. When you do them, you're going to be collecting all of the recipes that the game gives you. They can really help you out in battle by speeding up movement, increasing damage, or increasing defense, and a ton of other things. So before you jump into your battles, don't forget to cook. The one thing with item management though is make sure that you are cooking with spare items. A lot of different unlockable areas on the map are going to require certain items, but they're also required for recipes. So don't waste them and make sure you have plenty of items to cook with as well as use when you need them. Alright guys, this has been the 10 tips that's going to help you with Hyrule Warriors Age of Calamity. Drop down below in the comment section with other tips that you may have for other people who are watching the video. And make sure you look out for other helpful videos coming soon, like how-tos and guides to help you along your journey in Age of Calamity, coming very soon. Also make sure you drop by one of our streams where we'll be streaming Age of Calamity Friday to Monday at 8:30 Pacific time. So just like the video on screen right now, go ahead and check out part 1, which is our first stream that we did. And the video right next to it, guys, that's how to farm Amaranth and how to farm Mighty Thistle. You're going to need it, so make sure you click it right now and go watch that one next, and we'll catch you on the next one. Peace.